Welcome! We are going to be talking about HPV vaccines. Are these vaccines only intended for women, or can they also be administered in men as well? That is the question that we are going to be trying to answer. The HPV, human papilloma virus, consists of 40 different types that can be easily spread via sexual contact from skin and mucous membranes of infected people to healthy people. HPV vaccines can be classified as low risk or high risk depending on the chances it has of causing cervical cancers. The high risk 16 and 18 are responsible for 70% of cervical cancers, 95% of anal cancers, 65% of vaginal cancers, 50% of vulvar cancers, and 35% of penile cancers. The low risks are responsible for 90% of the genital warts. Researchers Ian Fraser and Ya Zhou at the University of Queensland discovered the basis for the vaccine in 1991. In 2006, the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices made a universal recommendation for vaccination of women. It will not be mandatory, but it will be strongly encouraged by all healthcare professionals. Then, in 2009, the same organization issued a permissive recommendation for the vaccine. It will not be mandatory as well, and it will be up to the physician's and parent discretion to administer the vaccination in the individual.
In order to determine what sector of the population will receive the HPV vaccine in the next few years, we looked at three perspectives: medical, social, and economic. The first perspective we will be talking about is the medical perspective.
HPV is a DNA virus that is transmitted through sexual contact. In fact, it is the most common STI. The CDC estimates that 79 million Americans in their late teens and early 20s have it. Typically, it does not cause complications and goes away on its own, but in some cases it is known to cause cancer, mostly cervical or genital warts. Currently, the HPV vaccine Gardasil 9 protects against types 6, 11, 16, 18, 31, 33, 45, 52, and 58. Vaccination against types 16 and 17 prevents up to 70% of cervical cancers, but by adding protection against 45 and 31, it now prevents 80% of cervical cancer cases. Type 16 leads mainly to anal and penile cancers, so the vaccine offers protection for men as well. Because Gardasil 9 is approved to protect against more types of HPV, it is an effective preventative measure against more cancers, leading to protection against 90% of cervical cancer cases in women and 80 to 95% of anogenital cancers in men and women.
Ideal preventative measures is coupling the HPV vaccine with regular pap smears. However, for women in developing countries, this can pose a concern, as they may not have access to this type of care. That's why it makes it even more pertinent that women in all countries gain access to the HPV vaccine. So we've already looked at the medical perspective. Next, we will look at the social perspective, in order to determine which groups may be targeted in the future for HPV vaccination. Many people consider HPV as a gendered vaccine. In 2007, after the first release of the HPV vaccine, even Dr. Fraser, who originally founded the vaccine, only mentioned how the vaccine could help prevent cervical cancer in women in a statement he made in Queensland. The One Less campaign kicked off in the US in 2011 and featured all women and targeted young women, despite the fact that HPV vaccines were approved for men in the US 2 years prior. This is a clip of one of the campaign videos.
Ask your doctor about getting vaccinated with the only cervical cancer vaccine, Gardasil.
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 With Gardasil, you could be one less.
O-A-E-L-E-S-S. I want to be one less. One less. O-A-E-L-E-S-S.
Campaigns only targeted at women like the One Less campaign, though, was not the only reason why men were not getting the HPV vaccine. That same year, 2009, a 29-question survey was designed to determine why men may or may not wish to receive the HPV vaccine. It was determined that men who engage in risky behavior such as regular tobacco use and high sexual activity were much less likely to desire getting the HPV vaccine. In 2011, the U.S. recommended the HPV vaccine be offered to 11 and 12-year-old boys. However, they did not allocate funds for educational materials or raising awareness for HPV vaccination in school-age boys. Australia was actually the first country to announce a publicly funded national immunization program for HPV in teenage boys. Despite being given $21 million, though, to give Gardasil to boys aged 12 and 13, they still found difficulty with funding the educational material for the program since the government was not willing to support the type of large-scale campaign that accompanied the launch of the HPV vaccination for school-age girls. The last perspective we will be discussing today in order to determine what groups will be targeted in the future is the economic perspective.
Generally, it has been agreed upon the review of several studies that it is more cost-effective to increase female vaccination rates than introducing a male vaccination program. However, it has also been observed that when female vaccinations are low, there is a benefit in vaccinating males. In 2011, Chesson et al. Adapted a model in which they evaluated the cost-effectiveness of HPV vaccination in a 100-year time frame. Chesson et al. Established that the cost for a quality-adjusted life year does not rise considerably in female vaccination. In contrast, there is an exponential cost associated in applying male vaccination when the female vaccination is high. Among the factors that make HPV vaccination costly in males, we must consider the permissive status of recommendation of the vaccine in males, which make it less likely to be covered by insurances. There will be marketing costs included in defining Gardasil as a genderless vaccine. Also, HPV is less likely to cause cancer in men.
In conclusion, the HPV vaccine has been mostly marketed for the prevention of cervical cancer. As a result, women have become the primary target of this vaccine. Little is it known, but additionally, this vaccine also serves to prevent anal cancers, which gears the vaccine to become recommended for homosexual men as well. This causes not only gendered advertisements and propaganda, but also economic hindrances, because although it would still be beneficial to men, the costs outweigh the benefits when it comes to marketing, causing men to be less aware of the vaccine's benefits for them. The increased marketing towards women affects societal perception of it, allowing people to perceive it as the woman vaccine. As the vaccine is being developed from its second-generation phase to a third-generation phase, more types of HPV are being covered, increasing the benefit of it towards men and women. The amounts of cancer it can cover is on the rise as Gardasil went from a quadrivalent vaccine to a 9-valent vaccine. As people begin to become more aware of the types of defense it can provide for men and women, marketing may increase towards men that may lead to a surge of men getting the vaccine for its preventative protection, which would allow for a better cost-benefit for marketing agencies. When looking at who the vaccine protects, it benefits both men and women, but due to economic, social, and medical factors, women are most likely to get vaccinated. The vaccination of women offers direct or indirect protection to heterosexual males and females as well as homosexual females. Unlike heterosexual males, homosexual males are not offered any protection throughout this process. That's why, if in the future the HPV vaccine were to be advertised directly to males, it would most likely be targeted towards homosexual males to allot them that protection. As previously mentioned, the HPV vaccine is still constantly being developed and changed in order to cater to more cancer types. We hope that it will be more readily accessible to more people in the future, homosexual and heterosexual, male and female alike, so that more people can enjoy the benefits of protection against different types of cancers. We thank you for taking the time to watch the presentation written, directed, and produced by Kerrigan, Noor, and Samara. These are our references.